There comes a time in life when each of us must choose between the risk of failure and the safety of inaction. But let us remember, it is not failure that haunts us most deeply, it is regret. Failure is a scar, yes, but it is a scar of effort, of courage, of trying. Regret is the absence of that scar. It is the echo of chances not taken, words not spoken, and dreams left untouched. I have seen many who stumbled, who reached for something great and fell short, but they stood again, stronger than before. Their failure taught them resilience, gave them wisdom, and forged within them a deeper purpose. But those who never reached, who held back out of fear or doubt, they carry a different weight, one not visible to others, but heavy in the heart. The weight of what could have been. We do not fear the climb because we expect it to be easy. We climb because we believe the sum. It is worth the struggle. To try and fail is still to move forward, to learn, to grow. But to stand still, to bury our hopes under the soil of fear, that is to die before death. That is to silence the very spirit that makes us human. So let us live in such a way that our days are full of bold attempts. Let us speak, act, and build with courage. Let us leave behind not a trail of missed opportunities, but of steps taken in faith. If we fall, let it be in motion. Let it be forward. For it is far better to fail while daring greatly than to live with the silent ache of regret. That, my friends, is the true loss, and that is what we must guard against. Failure, for all its sting and discomfort, is a sign that we tried. It is the evidence that we reached beyond the limits of safety and dared to pursue something greater than what was guaranteed. When we fail, we walk away with bruises, yes, but we also walk away with experience, with stories, with lessons. The pain of failure is real, but it is not hollow, it is not empty. It is filled with the echoes of effort, of passion, of action. Regret, on the other hand, leaves no such legacy. It does not teach. It does not shape us in the same way. Regret is what fills the silence where action could have been. It is the void that follows a decision not to act, not to speak, not to try. While failure may leave us wounded, regret leaves us haunted. Haunted by possibilities we will never get back, by dreams that were never given a chance to live, by the nagging thought that asterisk may be asterisk. Just maybe, we could have succeeded if we had only tried. There is something profoundly human in reaching for something and falling short. There is dignity in effort, even when the result is not what we hoped for. To attempt is to honor the gifts we are given, to test the strength of our will, and to embrace the full spectrum of what it means to be alive. Failure becomes part of the story we tell, a part of the journey that shapes us into wiser, more compassionate, more determined people. The pain fades, but the growth remains. Regret does not offer such growth. It traps us in a cycle of wondering and wishing, a loop that cannot be resolved because the opportunity was never seized. We can learn from failure, we can build from it. But we cannot build on what we never began. That is why regret cuts deeper than failure, because it reminds us that we didn't just lose something, we refused it, not consciously, perhaps, but out of fear, hesitation, or doubt. And once that moment is gone, we cannot go back to retrieve it. When we fail, we may fall, but we fall forward. We leave footprints. We leave proof that we were there, that we cared, that we tried. But when we hold back and surrender to regret, we leave nothing behind. Just silence, just a space where our potential once stood. It is better to bear the wounds of failure than to carry the weight of never trying, because in the end, those who try, even in vain, find peace in knowing they gave life their all. Those who don't are left with a question that has no answer, and that is a far more painful burden to bear. There is a quiet strength in those who try and fail. The world often looks at failure as something shameful, something to be avoided, but this view is mistaken. When someone dares to pursue a goal, to speak up, to create, or to take a risk, and it doesn't work out as they had hoped, they are not diminished by that outcome. On the contrary, they are shaped by it. Each failure becomes a teacher. Each misstep reveals a lesson. The person who fails after trying becomes wiser, more resilient, and more aware of their own strength. When we attempt something and it does not go our way, we still come away with something of great value, the experience. We learn what doesn't work. We learn what we are capable of enduring. We discover inner resources we may not have known we had: patience, perseverance, humility, and clarity. Failure, when embraced, can become a foundation for future success. It clears away illusions, strips us of pride, and forces us to look at life and ourselves with honesty. Through this process we grow. In contrast, those who never try carry a different burden. They may appear unscathed on the outside, having never faced the sting of defeat, but inside they live with a persistent ache. It is the ache of wondering what might have been. It is the quiet voice that whispers late at night, what if I had tried, this kind of pain does not teach, it unsettles, it doesn't strengthen, it weakens, it does not pass with time, but often deepens, becoming a shadow that follows a person for years. People who fail while striving can look in the mirror and know they gave something their best. They can sleep at night with a sense of integrity, knowing that they stepped into the arena. Even when they fall forward. They are not stuck, but people who let fear keep them from trying often feel stuck in a story that never began. They feel the weight of missed chances and unlived moments. And the tragedy of this is not just that they didn't achieve something. They didn't allow themselves to pursue it. There is no shame in falling short. There is, however, deep sorrow in holding back. The heart that breaks from failure is still alive. It can heal, it can try again, but the heart that grows quiet from regret often becomes numb and silent. That silence is not peace. It is the absence of courage, the price of hesitation. In the end, we must decide what we can live with: the growing pains of failure or the heavy silence of never having tried. Those who choose to act even if they fall discover something unshakable within themselves. Those who don't may never find it, and that is the greater loss. The climb is never easy. Life does not offer its highest rewards to those who remain in comfort. To reach the summit of our dreams, our goals, our better selves, we must be willing to endure the difficult ascent. And yet many turn away not because the goal is unworthy, but because the fear of falling outweighs the vision of what lies at the top. They convince themselves that staying at the base is safer, less risky, but in doing so they also give up the view, the growth, and the triumph that only comes to those who climb. When we look up at a great challenge, it is natural to feel uncertain. We wonder if we have the strength, if we are ready, if we belong. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. The climb demands effort. It will test our limits. There will be slips and setbacks, but each step taken in the direction of something meaningful builds our character. With every inch gained, we prove something not just to the world, but to ourselves. Progress requires action. It cannot be achieved through thought alone. Dreams do not manifest simply because they are noble or beautiful. They become real through motion, through decisions, through risks, through the willingness to fail and try again. Without that motion, even the most powerful dreams wither into regrets. The summit does not lower itself to meet us. We must rise to meet it. The worth of the goal must always outweigh the fear of trying. If we allow fear to dictate our choices, we stay in place, and while staying still might feel safe in the moment, over time it becomes a prison. Life was never meant to be lived passively. We are not here merely to survive. We are here to strive, to create, to connect, to grow. And all of that requires movement. There is also a truth that many forget. The climb changes us. Even if we never reach the top, the very act of trying makes us stronger. It opens our eyes. It builds our will. And sometimes we find that the climb gives us something even greater than the summit ever could, a deeper understanding of who we are and what we're capable of. That is a reward worth far more than comfort. So let us not be paralyzed by the height of our goals. Let us not surrender to the lie that staying where we are is better than failing on the way to where we want to be. The journey is hard, but it is worth it. Each step, each mistake, each small victory brings us closer, and whether we succeed or not, we will never look back with regret if we know we gave everything we had, because in the end, the only real failure is never beginning the climb at all. Doubt is a quiet voice, but it can be strangely powerful. It urges us to wait until we feel absolutely certain, until every condition is perfect, until every question is answered. Yet that day of perfect clarity rarely arrives. Instead, the voice of doubt coaxes us into stillness, persuading us to stay where we are, to avoid the discomfort of risk. The tragedy is that when we remain motionless, we are not simply conserving energy or avoiding harm. We are suffocating the very force that makes us alive. The human spirit is wired for movement, for exploration, for creation. It needs the pulse of action in order to thrive. Think of a river that ceases to flow. In time, the water grows stagnant. The life within it dwindles, and what once was vibrant becomes dull and heavy. So it is with a life lived in perpetual hesitation, when we refuse to act, because we doubt our abilities, or we fear disapproval, or we dread making mistakes. We deny ourselves the fresh currents that keep the soul dynamic and resilient. We may feel safe, but that safety is an illusion. What we really experience is a slow erosion of confidence, an inner numbing that makes each subsequent step even harder to take. Motion, by contrast, is liberating. Even when we misstep, even when we stumble or change direction, we are still learning, still evolving. Missteps teach us balance, wrong turns reveal unseen paths. Unexpected outcomes deepen our understanding of the world and ourselves. Movement affirms that we are active participants in our own story, not mere spectators watching from the sidelines. And in that participation, there is a joy that cannot be found in passive observation. This does not mean recklessness. It means choosing purposeful action over paralysis. It means taking one small step, even a hesitant, imperfect one, rather than waiting forever at the starting line. Each step breaks the spell of doubt, and the energy released by that momentum fuels the next step and the next. Soon, motion becomes a habit, a rhythm, a way of living that welcomes growth instead of fearing it. There will certainly be moments when we look back and see a trail of errors, but we will also see a rich tapestry of experiences, relationships, and discoveries that would never have existed had we stood still. The joy of life lies not in pristine perfection, but in the vivid, unpredictable, sometimes messy unfolding of our efforts. We honor the human spirit when we allow it to reach, to stretch, to try. In the end, the cost of inaction is far greater than the price of any mistake. Stillness bred by doubt diminishes us quietly, relentlessly. Motion, even with missteps, expands us, connects us, and keeps us vibrantly alive. The question we must ask ourselves each day is simple. Will we choose the silence of stillness or the music of motion? Our answer shapes not only what we do, but who we become. To dare is to live. To risk failure in pursuit of something meaningful is to declare to the world, and to ourselves, that our time here matters. Those who try, even if they fall short, walk away with something unshakable, the knowledge that they honored their calling, that they respected their dreams enough to give them a chance. There is dignity in that effort. There is peace in that struggle. Even when success is not achieved, there is a quiet victory in having the courage to begin. But those who turn away from the journey before it even starts, who let fear, insecurity, or hesitation dictate their choices, are left with an emptiness that success could never fill. That emptiness is not the result of loss, but of absence, of silence, of never knowing what could have happened. That is the pain of regret, the haunting feeling that a part of your life went unlived, not because it was taken from you, but because you gave it away to fear. The ache of regret grows louder with time. At first it's just a whisper, asterisk, maybe I should have tried. Asterisk, but as the days pass and the opportunities fade, it becomes a constant echo. Asterisk, what if I had? Asterisk, this echo follows people not just in their thoughts, but in the way they move through life, with a hesitancy, a dullness, a sense of something missing that is a burden heavier than any failure. Because failure is an end to a chapter, regret is a story that never got to be written. When you fail, you know what didn't work. And more importantly, you know that you had the strength to try. That strength remains with you. It builds resilience. It fuels the next attempt. And over time, it creates a life rich with meaning, even if the path is imperfect. But when you live in regret, you are left with no lessons, no memories, no battle scars, only silence and speculation. So dare to fail, dare to make mistakes. Dare to be seen trying, even when success is uncertain, because it is far better to live a life of bold, imperfect effort than to look back with the unbearable weight of wondering what could have been. Life will never promise us success, but it does offer us the chance to try. That is all we can ask, and it is more than enough. Let us then be people of motion, of action, of courage. Let us choose to face the fear of failure head on rather than settle into the slow sadness of inaction. Let our lives be marked not by perfect outcomes, but by brave beginnings, because in the end, the true failure is never to have tried at all, and the greatest pain is not falling short, but never stepping forward. So stand tall, step forward, and live in such a way that you will never look back and ask, asterisk, what if? Asterisk, let your answer always be asterisk, I tried, asterisk, and in that effort you will have already succeeded.